Now, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has acknowledged U.S. President Donald Trump's letter imposing a 30% tariff on South African exports to U.S., citing trade imbalances and market restrictions. However, South Africa contests this interpretation, arguing that the tariffs will harm local manufacturers and exporters who rely heavily on the U.S. market. Ramaphosa's administration emphasizes long-standing economic and diplomatic ties with the U.S., positioning the current dispute as a test of mutual cooperation. And now to discuss more on this, we are joined by an international relations expert, Dr. Gideon Chitanga from Munich, Germany. Thank you so much, Dr. Gideon, for joining us.
Thank you.
A pleasure. Now, I'm just going to go straight and ask, how do you think that the 30% tariff imposed on Trump might influence the South Africa's exports and the overall trade relations with the U.S.?
It is a situation that is not precisely unique to South Africa. I think a lot of countries in Africa and Europe and in Asia are having to adjust to this new situation where the U.S. is unilaterally imposing tariffs. The figure or the percentage of the tariffs, as it stands now, is entirely calculated by the officials within the U.S. administration. And the discussions that we are hearing is that even in the beginning, that the tariff target was quite exaggerated. It was not discussed with partners. And this relates to the first point, which basically addresses the idea that the U.S. seeks to address the balance of trade with its partners. The second part of the issue is that the U.S. is the second biggest trading partner with South Africa. And there is, I think, a whole industry in South Africa that a diverse industry that is linked to trade with the U.S., mainly agriculture, but other sectors as well. These industries will have to deal first with the uncertainty surrounding the conversations in the past 6 months related to tariffs. And when there is an agreement, they will have to adjust to the exact figures and budget into their production costs, the tariffs, so that they operate at a profitable rate. So they have to deal with the fact of uncertainty. They have to deal with the fact that this is a policy position that is predominantly being driven by one side of the partnerships, and precisely President Trump. They will have to deal with an economy that is struggling within South Africa, and that is really sluggish. And there aren't any immediate mechanisms, I think, to resolve this. I think different industries will have to wait for the South African government and the U.S. government to really negotiate and strike a deal. Then from that, everyone will have to adjust to the new tariff arrangement.
So in what ways could this tariff arrangement affect South Africa's economic growth and employment, particularly in sectors heavily reliant on U.S. trade?
Yeah, I think there will be a huge challenge. South Africa is one of the highest unemployment rates currently. It is not economically doing well. The GDP, I think, has been stuck. It's between 0.5 to 1 percentage points growth for close to a decade. And it's facing serious, I think, a pattern of economic decline over the years. Its manufacturing sectors are not competitive, and there are other factors that are outside the main economy which are also a major challenge. There is discussion within South Africa, though, that this situation is unprecedented. It was unexpected, but the South African economy has to diversify and seek other partners and broaden the base of partners or international consumers or export destinations as a way of securing its trade with other parties. So if relations with the US at this stage are not going to work out, surely the country must survive and it should increase its trade with other countries. And I think that this had already started because the number one trading partner with South Africa is China.
All right, thank you so much.
Trade between South Africa and China has been expanding.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see how this arrangement hopefully doesn't affect too much, but how it influences a trade, especially in South Africa, and the relationship between South Africa and the US. Thank you so much for joining us.